This I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself. Giving can be done through Patreon, PayPal, or Cash App. All links are in the description. As stated over the years, if you do give, let it be in accordance with the scriptures. Love you. Let's get it. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Stand Focused for Jesus. Hope each and every one of you are having a blessed day in the Lord Jesus Christ. As always, say it's Friday, October 6th, 2023. Friday, October 6th, 2023. The time is currently 9:16 p.m. You know, people always want the receipts. They want the receipts. They want the records. Show us the records. Show us the receipts. Show us your sources. Show us your primary sources. And we show them, and then they make excuses, or they want more. And we show them more and more and more and more and more. And all they do is dig their pit, dig their grave deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Instead of coming to repentance, admitting that you are wrong, they don't do that. They continue to lie and they continue to deceive. You know why? Because of the money, the clout, the prestige, the honor, the praise that has been heaped upon them by men. The praise that's been heaped upon them by men. Now, some of you know about this book. Some of you have seen this source. You know what's in it. But there are a lot of people that don't. There are a lot of people that don't. And you know, it's always good to bring it back to our remembrance because it may jog your memory in some things. I've always said truth really stands when it is faced by a lie. You can really know something is true when somebody is saying the opposite, complete opposite, a lie of what is being said. It's just like in the courtroom. You got two opposing parties, two opposing groups, or however you want to put it. One is saying one thing, the other saying another thing. It's supposed to work where truth prevails, justice prevails. That's the way it's supposed to work, right? This is why I don't argue with people like that. God always makes it known. He always makes it known. And it's simply amazing the lengths that people will go to. And they'll hide stuff. They won't tell you stuff, knowing they have researched it, knowing they have come across it. But they will tell you, oh no, you know, or they'll act like there isn't any evidence out there. We've been sitting on this for a while. Let's go ahead and get into it. I've been knew about it, but you know, I can't make every single video on every single thing. And my ministry is not based on proving who the Hebrew Israelites are according to the flesh. That is only a part of my ministry. Most of you know that. Most of you know that I preach on a variety, a plethora of things. And we lay a seed, or we plant a seed, I should say. It gets watered. God gives it increase. We eat from it, and then we produce more fruit by planting more seeds. And so that's what we do. We'll touch on the topic. We'll do some videos. We may touch on something else, do some videos. That's just how we get down here. Other people, their ministry may be that. But at the core, if they're not preaching the gospel, it doesn't matter. Now you have this book called Jacobite Gleanings from State Manuscripts, Short Sketches of Jacobites, the Transportations in 1745. 1745, interesting date, right? Hint, hint, hint. Benjamin Franklin, you already know I'm going. 1745. This book was, we'll look at it. I want to get ahead of myself. Now, the Jacobite Gleanings from State Manuscripts is a book written by J. Macbeth Forbes and published in 1903. It was written in 1745. It was published in 1903. Somebody will make an argument, oh, a lot of stuff could have been changed then. Well, prove it's been changed. You prove the book is historically inaccurate. Then we can talk. Other than that, shut your mouth. It provides insights into the Jacobite uprising in 1745, focusing on short sketches of Jacobites and the transportations that took place during that time. The book is a replication of the original work and offers a valuable resource for those interested in this period of history. So let me explain something. This is one of my tools that I use. It's called perplexity.ai. If you want to get deep into researching, you want stats, statistics, stuff that comes from peer-reviewed articles, this is one of many resources that I use. You go in here, you can ask it any question you want to. You just got to play around because many things you can do. You can get documents. You can get sources straight from YouTube and then bring videos up. You can do only peer-reviewed documents and then it'll bring it up. And what it'll do is it'll put the sources right here, the links. It'll put all the links and everything. Now you can get more than this. You can change it, but you get the point. Very, very powerful tool. Very powerful tool. And what happens is you're asking a question on a certain topic, and then it'll give you follow-up questions, or it will suggest follow-up questions to ask, or you can ask a follow-up question yourself. So let's say we're reading this and like, okay, give me more information on Jacobite uprising, and then you type that in, and then they give you more information. You read that, and then you can build your research information right here with one page, and then they got different ones where you can go to your library and see all the different things that you have researched. But you can use it for anything, real estate, whatever. So what is the Jacobite uprising of 1745? The Jacobite uprising of 1745, also known as the 45 Rebellion or simply the 45, was an attempt by Charles Edward Stuart, also known as Bonnie Prince Charlie, to regain the British throne for his father, James Francis Edward Stuart. The Jacobites were supporters of the exiled James II, and their cause was encouraged and assisted by Britain's enemies, who saw it as a way to distract Britain from its military campaigns overseas. The rebellion began on July 23, 1745, when Prince Charles Edward Stuart landed on the Isles of Ericsay off the west coast of Scotland. The Jacobite army, composed of Scottish Highlanders and some lowland supporters, achieved early successes by capturing Edinburgh and winning the Battle of Prestonpans in September. In October, the Scots agreed to invade England after Charles assured them of substantial support from English Jacobites and a simultaneous French landing in southern England. However, neither of these assurances proved accurate, and the Jacobite army entered England in early November, facing increasing difficulties. And this is all God doing this because this is the final fall during that time period of our people sitting on the throne. And then we are ending up in captivity. The rebellion ultimately ended in defeat for the Jacobites at the Battle of Culloden on April 16th, 1746 near Inverness. This battle, which was the last major battle to be fought on British soil, had a significant impact on the communities and infrastructure of the Highlands, as well as the overall history of the British monarchy. The Jacobite cause was effectively crushed, and the Stuarts were not restored to the throne. Now, they gave you some images, and they're saying, hey, this is what they look like. They're telling you this is what they look like. There's only one major problem with that. Major problem with that. What were the causes of the Jacobite uprising of 1745? The conflict between Catholics and Protestants played a significant role in the uprising, We've covered that many times. You have to really discern, because Catholic doesn't always mean what you think as Catholic today. Catholic at its core means universal, the universal church, meaning the collective body of Christ. They try to say that King James, yes, that King James that God used to help give us the Bible. They try to say that he was Catholic because he was baptized Catholic as a child. Well, guess what? My wife was raised Catholic and she was baptized as a child as Catholic. She's not Catholic today in the sense of following Roman Catholicism or the Pope and all this other garbage. So it goes on and says the Jacobites were primarily Catholic. Again, you have to do your own research to find out, what do you mean by Catholic? Were they Catholic in the sense of pagan worship, or were they Catholic in the sense of universal church? And that just comes from your studying and learning different things. So again, the Jacobites were primarily Catholic, while the ruling house of Hanover was Protestant. And the Protestants were said to be protesting against Catholicism, which is paganism, which comes from Egypt and even goes back further than that. The Jacobites believed in the divine right of kings and saw the Hanoverian succession as illegitimate. And this goes back to King James, because he believed that. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's the one that came up with the doctrine, but I do know that he pushed it real hard. He pushed it real hard because he was coming against the Pope. The Pope was trying to, get power and stuff like that. And he's like, nah, we have the divine right of kings, meaning that God puts different people in power. God puts different people in power, and he puts them in power to pretty much preserve his word and make sure his word gets to the people and stuff like that. And you can go, study that out. It's out there on the internet. Additionally, the ongoing persecution of Catholics in Ireland and the sense of betrayal regarding the union among a sizable minority in Scotland fueled Jacobite sentiment. France and Spain, both Catholic powers, had previously supported the Jacobite cause. In 1743-44, the French government secretly allied with King James and the English Tories, planning to launch an invasion in support of the Jacobites. Now, a lot of this stuff, I ain't gonna say it fascinates me, but we're gonna use that word. It fascinates me because this is my family history. I've shown y'all that on my side. I can also show you my wife's side. I think her side more so is the French side, is the French side of things. And what God was showing me, because my wife's last name is King, but it's not legally King, because when we got married, we didn't get it changed because we didn't have the money to do it. I didn't know you had to pay to get your name changed, or for her to get her name changed. So we didn't do it at the time, and we haven't been really worried about it. So I know some of you like, okay, you look my wife up, or if you did, why does her name still say Victoria? Well, that's why we didn't have the money to get it changed. So her last name, technically, or we should say her maiden name, is Victoria, Rhodesia Victoria. Her first name is literally is named after Africa. We're gonna put it like that, Africa. We can go deep with it. You can talk about a country on the continent of Africa specifically, but at its core, her name literally translates to Africa, meaning motherland. Also, it translates to Rose, which translates to Rose of Sharon, and we know what that deals with in the Bible, or I should say, who that deals with in the Bible. And we know the connection with roses and women. Roses have thorns on them, and my wife, she can be kind of thorny sometimes, but she's very, very, very beautiful flower. So God, with my marriage, I can't speak for everybody else. I'm only giving you my testimony. This is why this is staying focused for Jesus. Staying focused for Jesus, it is me. It's just a name that goes on there, right? God combined two kingdoms, two families. God combined or brought back two kingdoms. the Victoria family, the King family, McNeil family, Kelson, Nielsen family, and so on and so on and so on. All these families trace back to King James and also trace back to the 12 tribes of Israel. We got married, and what the Lord showed me was, it was just that. The bringing back together in unison and harmony of two royal lines as one. Two royal lines as one. We see this in the Bible where God said the two sticks will become one. So you have me as the man, and then my wife, and God was saying, I'm going to take you, Kelson King, the kingdom I've given you, the lineage that you come from, and we're going to merge it, a royal marriage, with the Victoria line. A lot of that deals with the French and some other areas in regards to what we research, Louisiana, stuff like that. And the two becoming one. And now her kingdom and everything that comes along with her kingdom being under my authority and also my protection, and me as the head being under the protection of my head, the Lord Jesus Christ, who's under the protection of his Father. I love this stuff because God, he revealed it to me. That's why I love it. Never thought I would be really interested in history. Growing up, I wasn't interested in history like that. I was more of an English person. I was more so interested in English and language. And you think about it, just thinking about it right now, it makes sense for me because I'm big on words. The way I write, the way I talk, I try to make sure that I clarify different things I'm saying. Sometimes I can go, a little bit longer, but I want to make sure that people get it. Because I understand it, but not everybody else does. So I have to simplify it, and sometimes I have to oversimplify it. Because even when I simplify it, some people still don't get it. So, y'all just bear with me with that. Then you have discontent in Scotland. The Jacobites found support in Scotland where there was a sense of dissatisfaction with the Union of 1707 and the Whig government's policies. Clan chiefs had promised support for the Jacobite cause, but it was conditional on French assistance. The Jacobites' army's decision to invade England in early November 1745 was based on Charles's assurance of substantial support from English Jacobites and a simultaneous French landing in southern England. However, neither of these assurances proved accurate, leading to the ultimate failure of the uprising. It's interesting because I was, born in November. The question of Maria Theresa's succession to the Austrian crown was a broader European conflict that indirectly contributed to the Jacobite uprising of 1745. Britain's enemies saw the Jacobite cause as a way to distract Britain from its military campaigns overseas. So what happened to the Jacobite prisoners? Transportation to the West Indies. Keep all this in mind. We know what the West Indies is. In Britain, the Jacobite prisoners faced the death penalty for high treason. However, due to overcrowded prisons, many of them were instead shipped to work on the sugar plantations in the West Indies, owned by British landowners. The prisoners were sold for £10 each on the dockside, and the ship, the Veteran, was paid £5 per head by the British government for transporting them. Unfortunately, the ship was intercepted by French privateers just a day away from landing, and the prisoners were released in the Martinique as allies of the French governor. Some prisoners stayed on the transport ships or prison hulks moored in the river where they faced inhumane conditions. These conditions led to cases of illness and death among the prisoners. Following the Battle of Culloden, nearly 900 men, women, and children were rounded up and accused of high treason. Some prisoners were executed while others were sentenced to transportation to the West Indies. Slavery. The fate of those transported varied, with some surviving and others perishing in the harsh conditions of the plantations. At the siege of Carlisle in December 1745, 384 Jacobite prisoners were taken, some of whom were later executed, and many others were sentenced to transportation. The prisoners were initially held in various locations, including York Prison, before being transported or released. Were there any notable Jacobite prisoners during the uprising? During the Jacobite uprising, there were several notable prisoners on the Jacobite side. Some of these prisoners were captured during the Jacobite Rising of 1745, while others were taken during the earlier Jacobite Rising of 1715. Here are some examples of notable Jacobite prisoners. You got Lord Kilmarnock, Lord Balmerino, Lord Lovat, Henry Oxburgh, Nicholas Wogan. In addition to these notable prisoners, there were many other Jacobite prisoners who were either tried for treason, sentenced to death, transported to American colonies, transported to the American colonies, or released when an Indemnity Act was passed in 1717. The exact number of Jacobite prisoners and their fates varied depending on the specific uprising and the region in which they were captured. Were any of the Jacobite prisoners related to nobility? Some of the Jacobite prisoners were indeed related to nobility. During the Jacobite Rising of 1745, several prominent Jacobite lords were beheaded, and those are the ones we just read. Excuse me. Flora McDonald, or son of Donald, who aided Bonnie Prince Charlie in his escape, was also a notable prisoner. Her aristocratic admirers collected over 1,500 for her. Lord Elcho, Lord Murray, and Loshire were excluded from the Act of Indemnity 1747 and died in exile. Were any of the Jacobite prisoners from Scotland's noble families? During the Jacobite uprising, many prisoners were taken, including members of noble families. While specific information about the noble status of individual prisoners is not readily available, it can be inferred that some Jacobite prisoners were from Scotland's noble families based on the involvement of various clans and the social composition of the Jacobite army. Meaning that, according to what it's showing me, they don't have enough information that's readily available. Like, okay, it says right here that these people were involved and they come from a notable a family of nobility. But we have surrounding evidence. We have enough evidence to support that there were other members of noble families that was involved in this uprising and the other uprising. So they mentioned the Clan McDonald, Clan Menzies, Scottish peers. And then we go down here and we ask, who is Charles Edward Stuart? Charles Edward Stuart, also known as the Young Pretender, the Young Chevalier or Bonnie Prince Charles, was born on December 31st, 1720 in Rome and died on January 31st, 1788 in Rome. He was the last serious Stuart claimant to the British throne and the leader of the unsuccessful Jacobite rebellion of 1745-46. Charles was the elder son of James Francis Edward Stuart, the grandson of James V. I'm not good with Roman numerals, so excuse me. I think that's seven? I think I could be wrong, but some of you know. And the Stuart claimant to the thrones of England, Scotland, and Ireland from 1766 as Charles III. Charles was raised as a Catholic, and again, you can debate was he a Catholic or not, and trained in the arts of war. In 1744, during the War of Austrian Succession, he joined a vast French fleet that was torn apart by a storm before it could invade England. So we see that he is directly related to the King James that mostly everybody knows about in regards to the Bible. And they say that this is him. There's only one problem with that. And we will see. But most of you already know what the problem is. We've covered this. We've proven from historical records and more historical records and more historical records, and we got more coming, that this lineage was and is black. I just don't release everything at one time so I can give a chance for people to make a fool of themselves and look stupid. And then we ask, why were they called Jacobites? The term Jacobite was used to describe the supporters of the exiled Stuart King James II and his descendants after the Glorious Revolution in British history. What does that tell you? A lot of the Jacobites, hence Jacobites, they were also descendants fighting with their family because they supported the divine right of kings, which is also biblical. The name Jacobite is derived from the Latin form of James, which is Jacobus. The movement has strong support in Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, with the reasons for support varying in each region. In Scotland and Wales, the support was primarily dynastic. There you go, dynastic. Remember I told you that America being established in the American Revolution and stuff was to fight against these monarchies. They didn't want to be ruled by the monarchy anymore. More specifically, they want to be ruled by a black monarchy. Because the black monarchy of that time period traces their lineage all the way back to Israel of the Bible, going back to Abraham, and so on and so on. While in Ireland, it was mainly religious, with Roman Catholics and Anglican Tories being natural Jacobites. So you just had a lot going on. You had Catholics who were Catholic in the sense of universal church. You had Catholics in the sense of pagan worship. You had Roman Catholics, pagan worship. It was just a whole bunch of bull jive, just like it is today. The Jacobite ideology originated with James, and yes, that James, the first monarch of England, Scotland, and Ireland in 1603. It was based on the concept of divine right, which claimed that James's authority came from God and the crown's descent by indefeasible hereditary right, meaning that is hereditary. There wasn't a voting in, outsiders getting in. It was hereditary. Like I told you, that is why they rebelled. I mean, there was other reasons, but that was one of the main reasons. Not the Jacobites, but the people that sided with America. You had black folks because it was predominantly black folks in that area during that time period. You even had Israelites that was siding with the enemy. It's nothing new under the sun. And so we mentioned this earlier about the divine right of kings, and it gives you a little bit more insight into what the divine right of kings is. And again, it claims that James's authority came from God. He stood by that because the Pope wanted to take power. He's like, no, you're not getting in power because your authority does not come from God. You do not represent God. Despite the popular image of the Jacobites being Catholic, Gaelic-speaking Highlanders, many Jacobites were actually Protestant lowlanders. By 1745, fewer than 1% of Scots were Catholic, and the majority of the rank and file, as well as many Jacobite leaders, belonged to Protestant Episcopalian congregations. Now, they want us to believe that this is the royal family right here. This is the royal family. These are the descendants of the people that we were just discussing. If this was the case, then truth is truth. The problem is, this is not the case. That's the problem. This is simply not true. Now here's a little map of the Jacobite uprising. You got the English supply right here. You got the French supply coming right here. And then you have the different battles. Boom, 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 boom. All up in there, right? Just want to show you that. Show you where all this is going on at. Oh, black folks were not here. Now, you know we got to go here. Observations concerning the increase of mankind, peopling of countries, etc. is a short essay written in what? 1751. 1751. Jacobite Gleanings from State Manuscripts, Short Sketches of Jacobites, the transportation in 1745. This is how you study history. This is how you study true history. Okay. It was released in 1903, but it was written in 1745. Benjamin Franklin, he wrote his short essay in 1751. Simple math. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. That's 6 years, right? From 1745 to 1751 is 6 years. It goes on to say it was circulated by Franklin in manuscript to his circle of friends, but in 1755 it was published as an addendum in a Boston pamphlet on another subject. It was reissued 10 times in the next 15 years. People make an argument and say, oh, that book, it could have been changed because it wasn't released until 1903. Okay, prove it. I could make the same argument for Benjamin Franklin's work, that it wasn't really published publicly until 1755. So from 1751 to 1755, people could have changed it. Most of you already know where we're going, and you're going to see the connection, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is black or tawny, Asia chiefly tawny, America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so, and in Europe, which would include what? Scotland, Ireland, them different places, right? The Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, dark complexion, dusky complexion. We went over all this. We ain't got to do it. You already know. As are what the Germans, also the Saxons, only accepted, who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. Okay. Benjamin Franklin said this in 1751, that most of the world during his time was what we know as black, or POC, people of color. That would mean that in 1745, when this book was written, what color were these Jacobites most likely? Most likely, because, hey, they could be white. But what color were these Jacobites who are descendants of Jacob, or at least they claimed, and family to the King James family, Stuart, which is also Swarthy? They were most likely what? What we call black. What we call black. That would make sense. But we just can't go with that one piece of information. Like I said, you build a case with evidence after evidence after evidence after evidence after evidence. And you show people for the liars that they are. Then you have to ask yourself, after all this evidence is presented, and you see it's truthful, it's factual, it's in context, why did they lie to you in the first place? Why do people continue to lie to you today? And why do they refuse to repent? Now, you can get this book offline. It's a digital copy. It's free. Jacobite Gleanings from State Manuscripts, Short Sketches of Jacobites, the Transportation in 1745 by J. Macbeth Forbes. We're going to go to page 55. It said bring the receipts. Okay. An exact list. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in real good. Can y'all read that? An exact list and description of 150 rebel prisoners shipped at Liverpool on board the veteran John Rickey, master, for the Leeward Islands, which were taken near Antigua the 28th June last by the Diamond privateer Paul Massall, commander, and carried into Martiniso the 30th of June, 47. Let's see. So these are Jacobites. Now, we have already seen that these Jacobites are related to King James. You can go deeper with it. Maybe we'll bring some more information at a later date. I'm not going to do all that in this video. I can, but I'm not. Because we shouldn't have to do this. But we do have to do this because people want to continue to lie. And they want to say that we're liars when we're not. We're not going to read all the names, but you see the name Dougal gives you the profession, the county, their stature. You see, most of the men, they were short. Let's see, he was 46, and he was 5'4". He was 44, 5'4". He was 20 and 5'2.25". He was 30 and 5'6". The average height of a man today is 5'9". I'm 6'2". I'm pretty tall in comparison to the average height. These men were short. These men were short. I say that because women have this Disneyland fantasy imagination of men. He got to be at least 6 feet, make 6 figures, and have 6 inches. Seems like they in love with the 666, ain't they? Most men are not 6 foot nothing. Most men are 5'9". Most men do not make 6 figures. And most men don't have 6 below. we covered that. We've shown you that. Most men's penis is in proportion to their body. Sometimes it may be smaller, sometimes it may be bigger. But this notion that you got to have this to be happy, it's based on unrealistic terms. You want this tall man. Well, guess what? All the women want tall men. If you ask the average woman, not even the average woman, if you ask most women, 9 out of 10 women, we're going to say 8 out of 10 women, they're going to tell you they don't want no man that's 5 foot nothing. They want a man that's 6 foot or above. That's just being real. But guess what? The average man is not 6 feet or above. So that means that the men that are 6 feet above, they are the minority in comparison to the men that are less than 6 feet. So then why would those men choose you? And then if they're making 6 figures, why would they choose you? And then if they do have 6 below or more, why would they choose you? If you ain't bringing nothing to the table, as we say, you're not really offering nothing. I'm just saying. But let's look and see what the description, the physical description of these men are. Let's see. Brown, black, brown complexion, well made, ruddy, black, ruddy, brown. I think this right here means ditto, meaning that he was brown. He was also ruddy and well made. Just depends. But I think it means ditto. Like, y'all know what ditto means. It means that you don't have to keep on putting it like laborer, and then Alex Campbell was a laborer, and then John Campbell, he was a laborer, and Alex Cameroon was a laborer. So they put the ditto, meaning that they all had the same thing. Brown. So brown and what? Brown and swarthy. Different complexions of brown. This one had red hair, ruddy, slim made, black, ditto, black, brown, black, brown, black, brown, black, ruddy. He was thin, pale, and sickly, but we don't know what it means by was he pale because he had pale skin, or was he pale because he was sick? We conclude that he was probably pale because he was sick, but who knows? But even if he was what we call white, we see mostly people are what we call black people. Black, brown, black, lusty, whatever lusty meant in that time period. I don't know what it meant back then. Black hair, pale and slender. So he, there's another a pale person, but what do they mean by pale? I don't know. If he was white, that's what, 2 white people? If it's talking about pale in the sense of white, that's 2 white people. I'm not saying that there were not white people that was fighting with them. So they very well could be white. But the point is, we see the people what we know as black. Brown. Let's go down. Black. Red hair, strong, black. Light hair, fair, well made, good face. Brown, black, swarthy. See, we don't have to make this up. Sandy hair, swarthy, well made. What he had, sandy hair? What do you mean he had sandy hair? His hair was light colored. He had light colored hair, but he was still black. He was still swarthy. Brown, ruddy, black, swarthy, light hair, fair face, slender, brown, well made, swarthy, black, brown, black, lusty, ruddy, brown, fair complexion. And the reason you may say, oh, there's so many inconsistencies in regards to fair complexion, pale, you gotta remember, I don't believe no one person was taking all these records. You had multiple people taking records, and so they would describe a person according to how they would describe them. Somebody may say fair complexion, somebody may say pale, but either way, even if the fair complexion people, even if the pale complexion people is talking about white people, we still see most of these people are black. What we call black people. Dark complexion, pock-pitted, ruddy, another pale complexion, brown, dark complexion. This one, it says he writes well, well looking, brown and sickly. So this one was brown, 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 dark visage. You see that? Different description, but saying the same thing, y'all. Pale complexion, pale complexion. Dark complexion, dark, brown, brown, dark, brown, swarthy, ruddy, dark complexion. I'm gonna keep on going because they think we making stuff up. Black, lusty, black, brown. Let's see, nut brown. they going real deep with it. He's nut brown color. Let's see. Brown, black man, chestnut. This guy was blind on the right eye, so they made sure they identified him. And look at the names. I want you to notice the names. You see, they told you that the name that you have was given by the slave masters. Okay, that could be true. But they also didn't tell you that most of the slave masters of the American colonies were black. It's a different variation of the name. It's like, I can trace my name all the way back to the Bible. In the Hebrew language, in Aramaic. And guess what? It means the same thing. Dark brown. Let's see. This one had black hair, swarthy. She was a little woman. The description was taken by Mr. Smith at Lincoln, York, and Lancaster in October 1745. Now you may say, well, you said that it was other people. Yes, these descriptions were taken by Mr. Smith, but does that mean that Mr. Smith didn't have help? Well, maybe one day Mr. Smith decided to describe somebody as this way, and then the next day he decided to describe somebody as something else. Still saying the same thing. But look at the names. Some of you have these last names today. Duncan, McDonald, Campbell, right? Duncan Campbell, McPherson, McDonald, we've seen that. Look at the names. Jackson, son of Jack, or Will Jackson. Look where they at. Dublin, all these different counties. Edinburgh, Ireland, Scotland. But they tell you, oh no, it wasn't black people over there. They was over there nowhere. Now they're going to come back and come up with another excuse. Well, okay, there was black people, but, they still were not the people you're talking about. They're not the Hebrew Israelites. They can keep on trying to move the goalposts, but we don't care. Keep on trying to move the goalposts. It may seem like they're moving the goalposts, but they're not, because they don't control the field. God does. And if God's spirit is in us, that means that we control the field, because the knowledge and wisdom is being given to the church and the angels. Both what we call the good angels and the bad angels, they're looking into the things that we are saying. Chapman, some of my family right there, Will Chapman. Then again, we got the McNeil family. They're not listed on here. Not that I've seen. And then you got some other what's the other one? You got Chapman with my family, McNeil, Knight, Knights, and it's one more I can't remember. It's on the tip of my tongue. But there you have it. There you have it. So I ain't gonna keep you too long. Just want to put this out here. We'll be bringing forth more information, more knowledge, more truth, showing you the truth and showing you the lies that they have told you. The question you must ask yourself is, why do they continue to lie to you? We have no reason to make nothing up. No reason at all. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you in Jesus Christ's name. As always, stay focused for Jesus. And as you know, the truth is not debated, it is declared.